Even long before the pandemic, many young people in Boston were struggling with opportunity gaps, and volunteers for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Massachusetts have been trying to close those gaps for 70 years. But events over the past year have sharpened the focus on doing the job differently, especially in ways that are more inclusive. To tell us about those efforts is the organization's president and CEO, Mark O'Donnell. Thank you very much for joining us again, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Chris. Glad to be here.
Mark, we know about the rigors of pivoting during a pandemic and overcoming the distancing, but what I see about your organization is that over the past year, you've gone from, we've been doing this for 70 years, we know what to do, to say we have to do everything almost a different way. What got you to that point?
Well, the staff got us to a point where they are young, they're innovative, and they want to help kids. So we got to a point where we had to pivot based on the world and based on the pandemic right away. And our staff was right to it. And also based on the pricing of real estate in Boston, we started to have some staff work remotely because it was cost effective. So we started to have more laptops and more systems in place to deal with remote workforces. So I think that helped, but it was really the will of the staff to say, we are not going to let these kids that need us more now than ever, we're not going to let them down. So we have to get to them. So I would put the complete praise on the staff for that.
Well, I know certainly one change is that this is an organization that runs on mentoring and outings. I mean,
Yeah.
outings, during a pandemic when you got to keep distance. I mean, what does that mean?
Well, there are some people that are still socially meeting, socially distancing and meeting if they're in the same neighborhood, and the parents and the guardians are working to make sure there's space and they feel comfortable. So there are still meetings happening, but the social component is gone, and I think gone in everyone's life, in my life, in your life. But what we can't lose is the relationship and the love and the caring and the support. So even though the social piece of it, the throwing the baseball or going to the MFA or walking around the city, all of that may be on hold right now. But what's really important right now is someone has a break from life and just have someone to talk to.
We know that just about all kids need some kind of positive relationship outside their school routines and their family circles. You don't have to be terribly deprived to need that, but at the same time, what exactly does a positive relationship mean?
Well, a positive relationship is someone that's going to take the one-on-one time, and the key word is consistency. Someone that is going to be there week in, week out on a text, a phone call, an in-person meeting, and someone that can be relied upon to mentor in many ways. It could be for schoolwork, it could be for life, it could be on what's going on in the world. I think that as long as someone knows that person is here for me, I think that is what it really at the core is what it takes. So that's really the big piece of it, is that consistency in one's life, which maybe they don't have, is having a multitude of people, but having that one person you can rely on to be there just for you is super important.
Well, it's easy to reduce this to a form of remedial education, but another thing going on here is it's almost like a kind of chemistry, boosting a young person's confidence. What makes that happen exactly?
Well, the confidence is in the fact that someone wants to spend time with me, and someone's taking the time out of their life to focus on me. And teachers, coaches, uh, even parents may have multiple kids, classes, teams. It's not just about you. And I think there's a confidence that comes with, especially in single parent households, which many of our kids come from, there's a confidence that comes from, why is this person, male or female, whatever their race or gender, coming out saying, this person is coming here for me. And there's just there's confidence that comes out of that person knowing that you're the reason this person is coming to see you.
Now, your organization has really been on the front lines for decades dealing with all of these social divides. It's nothing new, but the past several months, when you're looking at racial divides and the systemic nature of that, do you see that differently now?
We do, and we always, every once in a while I'll say I wish we weren't in business, because that means everything's going great. But we are in business because a lot of under-resourced communities, a lot of communities of color, are under-resourced because of systemic reasons and because there's racism and lack of opportunities. So we always knew that that was a reason, and we try to build bridges with these relationships, but the bridges sometimes wasn't enough. And we relied on those relationships, but now we realize that our volunteers are coming to us with their antennas up. They're coming to us saying, not only do I want to help, but help guide me through what I don't know. Help educate me on the differences in the cultural backgrounds or the socioeconomic backgrounds or gender or whatever, sexual orientation, many ways of looking at diversity. And they're coming to us more than ever before with their antennas up saying, help guide me through this. So we want to make sure that we make better matches out of this. So internally, we created a roadmap. It's about 46 pages long. It has to do with our internal staffing, our workforce development, because we have to take care of our own house first and make sure that our staff is diverse, make sure our staff is trained and educated, and then make sure that our board and leadership also reflects the community we serve. But then turn that on and say, we now have to use this education, this guidance to make our matches do the most good they possibly can. So we're really on it.
You know, I'm also intrigued by the internal changes too, because a lot of us day to day we deal with diversity by not talking about it.
Yeah.
You're trying to deal with it by talking about it more.
Absolutely. And that's the business we're in. We're in the building bridges business in communities that are different and people that are different. And we have a young staff, and our staff really, they're here because they want to help kids. And they know the best way to help kids right now is to have this dialogue. And the best way to recruit the volunteers, even recruit future staff members, is to have this conversation. So there's no topic that's off limits. We never want to be comfortable having this conversation. We always want it to be uncomfortable. We never want to act as an organization like we have the answers. We just want to make sure that we're on the journey to consistently take steps forward.
Looking into the forward mode here, what about the future? Because I see you've got some plans to expand, maybe work more with populations that haven't been served as much so far. Well, what would that mean?
Well, we have entered locations like New Bedford and Lowell that have a lot more Spanish speaking and Latinx community members. We want to make sure that we internally staff up to provide those regions with the best support we possibly can. But also, we want to make sure that our volunteers, that we have more of a pipeline of staff members and volunteers that are of color or have different, different genders, sexual orientations, or even we have a committee internally about disabilities as well. So we want to make sure that we are inclusive in everything we do. So in those regions, or in Boston, we just want to make sure that internally, when we set out to make a match in a mentoring relationship, we could offer the best possible guidance and support for that match.
You also have a concern with new language populations, which could mean maybe Cantonese or Cape Verdean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to call a timeout on some matches because we don't have one of the great things about our program is that we professionally support that mentor relationship through its entirety. So you have a staff member that's helping guiding that match by speaking with the guardian and the mom, speaking with the big, speaking with the little, and making sure everything is going the way that the organization's purpose and outcomes would like it to go. So sometimes if we don't have those capabilities for language, we can't execute that match the way we should and the way we want to. So one of the things we're doing is being thoughtful on finding those staff members in communities where we do have those populations, looking at translation apps, and also looking at ways where we won't tell that volunteer we can't match you or that kid. We're going to say, hold on a second and let us go purposefully recruit someone with the same background, the same language capabilities. So this way we can make that match eventually. So, yeah.
I know you've had big brothers and big sisters, who go on the outings or who work with the littles in school or in a campus setting, but I'm also interested in the workplace settings. What has been happening there? I know it's probably been interrupted quite a bit, but what's the potential at least?
Well, the potential, it has been interrupted completely. So the workplace programs is really where we partner with the school nearby a workplace, and like Partners Healthcare has one. And we will bring those kids to the workplace, and they'll see the environment, and they'll see what it's like to be in that office. And they break off and have the one-on-one time with their mentors in a group setting. And it also allows a company looking to do really good things in the community to have this service brought to them, because a lot of times, especially if people's time and schedules are crazy, they'll won't take on this program because they think the time commitment's too much, or they can't do it on weekends based on their own family situation. So by doing this, we allow companies that want to help just a different pathway and a different program model in order for that to happen. And we also, whether it be collegiate programs or whether it be workplace programs, the goal is to give that one extra glimpse into a different life than maybe they've seen before.
Well, one good thing lately is that you've recruited upwards of 450 new volunteers, but you need some more parents to get their littles signed up. So if people want to follow up in either way, what's the best way to do that?
I would just log on to our website. It's EMASS Bigs, BIGS.org. So emassbigs.org, and sign up for the program. Take a look around. And whether you're thinking about volunteering, like you mentioned, we're still looking for volunteers, but we're also, with community centers being closed, schools not being in full session, everyone's really taxed us about what they could offer, and they're worried about their own programs. So we're not seeing the same influx of referrals, and we're not, and at home situations, a lot of people are hunkered down. They don't have childcare. They're worried about their own situations. So they're not thinking about what else can I sign up for. So part of what I'm preaching is to look us up online, call us on our phone, make sure that you think about this organization as a partner to help, because what we're seeing is our referrals are slowing down, but we know the need is growing. And what I'm afraid of, and what the staff is afraid of, is we come out of the pandemic and the need for our service has doubled because of the mental health issues, because of the learning loss, because of just what the pandemic has created in the city, the inequities the pandemic has created. So we know our service is not lessened. So we're worried about what's going to happen 12 months from now. There'll be more kids out there not getting our service. So we just want to make sure we get that out there.
Thank you very much for spreading the word.
Great. Thank you for having me. It's important.
Mark O'Donnell from Big Brothers Big Sisters of Eastern Massachusetts.